How's it going, guys? Will here, and I just switched to the iPhone 12, and that, along with iOS 14 being released, I decided to put together a whole new minimalist phone setup. If you've seen these before, then you might remember the stock apps and the folder systems. However, I've actually switched a fair amount of that round for this setup, partially due to me wanting a really nice clean setup for my new phone, and also partially thanks to the features that iOS 14 provides. So, let's take a look. Going right to my home screen, we can see that this looks significantly different compared to my previous setup. For one, there are significantly less apps. As iOS 14 added that app library, I was able to remove a lot of the apps that I still needed, but either had a widget replacement for or didn't need to use all that often. In terms of stock apps I still have on here, we have FaceTime, Calendar, Notes, which I actually use for these videos, Messages, and of course, Music. We can see that I've gone ahead and removed apps like Health, as I usually only check this once a week or so to make sure that I'm walking enough, as well as the weather app, as I find that I actually prefer using the widget to be able to immediately check the weather without going into the app. Next up, we have the battery monitor, which on its own doesn't seem all that useful, right? I mean, I can always just check my battery percentage on my top HUD. However, I also use Beats Studio headphones, and these are also displayed on the widget, so if I want to just quickly check the battery life of both, I am able to do this using the widget. I found this incredibly helpful because I'm not the best at remembering to charge my wireless devices, to be totally honest. So having this widget as a little reminder is super helpful. Finally, for the homepage, we have this little music widget. To be totally honest, I probably could get by without this. However, it is a nice way to quickly listen to some music, as you can just tap on it and be taken right to the album you were just listening to. So if you're someone like me who likes to listen to albums, then this is actually a pretty useful widget to keep on your home screen. As for the widgets, that's pretty much it. I mean, I still have a few on the sidebar, however, on the home screen, that's all I need. I think that anything else would clutter my UI and wouldn't be all that useful. I mean, I have tried keeping the reminders widget on here as well as the Google search widget, but I just never really found myself using them that often. So I found that having a few really good stock apps and widgets on my home screen is the best solution for me. Next up, we're moving on to the second page, which typically is where the third-party apps would sit. However, if you've already seen one of my previous videos like this, then you may notice significantly less apps, and also ditching my folder system. I was actually pretty pleased to get rid of this because I wasn't crazy about how all those grey squares looked. So I was glad to get rid of them for a system that not only worked better, but also kept my home screen cleaner. However, on this second page, I do still keep my most used third-party apps, starting with Instagram. Instagram is one of my most used social media platforms. I really like looking at it as I follow some pretty awesome photographers, so I often look on here to get inspired, post to my story, or just to message my friends. I've been trying to post on here more often, but honestly, I haven't been doing too great, so I'll have to remember to post more frequently. I honestly just forget. All in all, I do like this app, so I want to keep it on my home screen as I can quickly access it, and thanks to being able to hide away less used apps, I can now find it even quicker. Next up, we have YouTube, which I keep on here for some pretty obvious reasons. I often like watching things on my phone on the go, and YouTube is genuinely where some of my favorite content is at the moment. I personally really like watching camera and cinematography videos, as I always find I can learn something and better improve my work. So I rarely regret watching videos about things like camera techniques or settings, or even just simply cinematic videos like the ones from people like Make Art Now. YouTube is also honestly great for short form content, so while Netflix and other apps are great if you have like half an hour, if you only have 10 minutes or so to relax, then YouTube can be a really great app. Next up, we have YouTube Studio, where I check all my stats for this channel, as well as respond to comments, as I can easily display them all in order, so it actually makes replying to comments a lot easier. I'm not going to show this for some pretty obvious reasons, but it is essential to my workflow, so I like to keep it on my home screen. After this, we have Twitter, which I've also been making a conscious effort to post more to recently. I've been posting plenty of behind the scenes stuff, as well as music I've been listening to and general ramblings. It's also good for quickly keeping up with tech news, as I follow mostly tech related people, and I found this is the most efficient way for me to get my tech news. I try not to use Twitter for more than half an hour a day though, as it's not all that useful and it's easy to get sucked into. So I only use it when I actually intend to go on Twitter rather than just loading it up when I have nothing else to do. After this, we have Telegram, which is now my messaging app of choice.
I use Telegram as most of my friends are on Android phones, so using Telegram allows us all to talk regardless of operating system without any issues. It's fast, it's free, and there are actually some pretty cool features that make it a really good app. For one, Telegram has a great file sharing service, which I actually used when I was on Android as a solution to not having AirDrop. So when I wanted to post a picture on Instagram, I would send myself a really high resolution picture from my computer to my phone on Telegram, and I'd be able to download that photo and post it in full resolution. So yeah, Telegram's pretty good.
Obviously, I still love iMessage, and I frequently talk to my friends who are iPhone users over iMessage. However, as I said though, most of my friends are on Android, so Telegram works best for me.
Next up, we have Headspace. Now, I've mentioned before, but I've actually been getting back into mindfulness, aiming for around 20 minutes a day, and while I'm not always great at sticking to that, this Headspace app is super helpful. I recently picked up the premium version, and this has given me a lot of great exercises. I also find that keeping it on my home screen helps remind me to do it every day, and if I were to keep it tucked away in my app library, I would definitely forget more often.
They also do have a free trial, so if you've never tried it, I do strongly recommend it. I always find that I can be much more focused after a quick session with this app. It just gets my mind a lot clearer, and so I find it incredibly useful. Finally, for this page, we have the Helios camera.
I actually just picked this app up as I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I wanted to try it out for myself. I do actually plan on making a video on this app soon, but at the moment I am still testing it, which is why I'm keeping it on my home screen. If you don't know what this app is, it essentially shoots raw photos and brings pro manual controls to pretty much any iPhone. And while it's not free, in fact, it's a subscription service, it is actually pretty affordable for what it provides. And so far, I'm enjoying it a lot. As some of you may know, I love taking casual photos on my phone, and just having the option to get that much more detail by shooting raw is a really good feature of the app.
Moving on, we have the app library, which is where I keep the rest of my apps that I still need to keep on my phone, but I don't use enough to justify keeping them on the home screen.
The first folder in here is the social folder, all the apps of which I've already spoken about, so we can go ahead and skip this one. Next up, we have the entertainment folder, which houses some of the apps that we've already talked about, but two key bonus ones. The first of which being Last.fm. If you don't know what this is, it's mostly for tracking music listening habits, which is actually something that I find pretty fun, as I can look back on the week and see what I've mostly been listening to. I'm also pretty sure that it syncs across all devices, so I know on all my devices with Apple Music, I can keep track of what I listen to.
The next app in here is podcasts, which, to be honest, I don't really use as often as I used to, but on the odd occasion where I don't want to listen to music, or I don't want to watch a YouTube video, listening to a podcast while I work can be nice. Moving on, we have the creative folder, which again houses some of the apps that we talked about before, but also some that we haven't covered. The first app in here is Canon Camera Connect, and I hate it. I barely ever use this app because it's just such a pain in the ass to get working. I mean, I think the only camera app that I've ever used that has been worse than this is the Sony app. That said, sometimes I do need to check my focus from far away and can't use a camera monitor, so it does occasionally come in handy. That's it though. It's awful. Next up, we have some stock apps and Lightroom Mobile, which is of course where I edit my phone snaps for either my Instagram story or something like Twitter.
I get Lightroom Mobile free with my Creative Cloud subscription, so about a year ago, I decided to give it a go, and oh boy, mobile editing is so good. It's just a lot more intuitive than editing with a mouse for some reason, and support for things like presets and raw files really tie this app together to be one of the best photo editing apps on the mobile market. I don't use it every day, so I don't like to keep it on my home screen, but this is an essential app for me.
After this, in their respective folders, we have Gmail and Patient Access, which I don't really want to cover just for some privacy reasons. If you aren't aware, Patient Access is our NHS app in the UK, so super helpful, but nothing I really want to go over in this video. Other than that though, that's it.
I found that iOS 14 has made organizing my phone a lot easier, which is important to me, especially with any new release, and I'm actually pretty content with this setup, at least for the time being.
I don't like to keep clone apps on my phone, so if I have one app that I can use for note-taking, I don't really want to install a second one. I also try to make sure that almost all the apps that I regularly use on this phone are cross-platform compatible, so if I'm working on a video script on my iPad, I can then seamlessly pull it up on my phone, and this incredibly useful. I've personally found that keeping my phone set up minimal does help me stay organized, even when I'm using my phone. Alright guys, so that's it for today. As always, thank you for watching. Remember to like the video if you want to see more content like this, and smash that subscribe button. I'm done for now, and I will see you guys in the next one.